7 years. From high school to our wedding day, I love my wife. And for a guy in a Mercedes, she was ready to send me to prison. 2 years into our marriage, she tried to ruin me to force a divorce. She filed a formal, signed complaint accusing me of theft from my employer. The goal was to get me fired from my job as a federal air marshal, to trash my reputation, and maybe even land me in jail for a few years. I finally understood why. She was running out of time. Her stomach was starting to show, and it wasn't a secret she could keep for much longer. The jet lag hit me like a physical blow as I dragged my leaden legs through the front door. I just wrapped up a 3-day international trip, and the silence inside our apartment was absolute. No welcome home, just a cold room and an empty dining table. The living room was dark, save for the single, dim glow of the motion sensor light in the entryway. I kicked off my shoes, draped my uniform jacket over my arm, and called out, "Chloe, I'm home." Nothing. I pulled out my phone and dialed her number. It rang for a long time before she finally answered, her voice laced with annoyance. The background was a chaotic mess of thumping music and the high-pitched laughter of men and women. "Yeah? What's up?" I pinched the bridge of my nose, fighting back a wave of irritation. "Where are you?" "I just got back." "Oh, I'm out with the girls. Just order a pizza or something. I'll be back late." She hung up before I could say another word. I stared at the black screen, a familiar chill creeping into my chest. The girls? What friend of hers goes clubbing on a Tuesday night? I opened the fridge. A half-empty carton of Chinese takeout and a few lone beers stare back at me. The hum of the microwave turning the sad, leftover lo mein was the only sound in the apartment, a monotonous drone that matched the emptiness in my head. From high school sweethearts to husband and wife, 7 whole years. We were the couple everyone envied, the ones who were supposed to make it. But in the 2 years since we'd gotten married, everything had changed. I spent my life in the sky, and she lived hers on the ground. The distance between us felt more than just geographical. She had a 9-to-5 office job, a stable routine. My every flight was another separation, days and nights spent thousands of miles away. Our relationship was colder than the leftovers in the fridge. I ate mechanically, then sat on the couch in the dark. Time ticked by. The clock on the wall crept past 1 in the morning. Finally, the jingle of keys at the door, and it swung open. Chloe was back, wrapped in a cloud of expensive perfume and cheap booze. She saw my silhouette in the darkness and jumped, her eyes darting away from mine. "God, Caleb, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark?" I didn't answer, just watched her. She looked away, flustered, and bent down to take off her heels. Before I could speak, she pulled a file from her brand-new designer handbag and threw it onto the coffee table. "Caleb, I want a divorce." Her voice was like ice, completely devoid of warmth. "I'm sick of living like this, like some kind of glorified widow." Those last 2 words hit me like a punch to the gut. I shot to my feet, my chest heaving. "Chloe, what the hell are you talking about? Are you seeing someone else?" She let out a short, sharp laugh, crossing her arms. Her face was a mask of pure scorn. "What if I am? What if I'm not? Look at yourself. Caleb, what do you have besides that uniform? What do you make in a month? You can't even afford the bags I want." It was the worst fight we'd ever had. Every word she threw at me was a knife, carving away the last shreds of my dignity. Finally, amid the screaming and the sound of something smashing against the wall, I grabbed a pen and signed the divorce papers. There was still a mandatory waiting period. A month. What a joke. She slammed the door on her way out, leaving me alone in the dark, staring at the smiling, happy couple in our wedding photo on the wall. 7 years of my life gone just like that. For the first time, the love I had guarded with everything I had felt like a source of pure, bottomless despair. I picked up the wallet she dropped on a coffee table. A receipt slid out. It was from a 5-star steakhouse downtown I'd never been to. The bill was 4 figures. The date on it was from a night I was on a flight to London. The cloud of the divorce hadn't even begun to lift when the next blow landed at work. A few days later, I was at the airport going through pre-flight checks when my radio crackled to life. "Hayes, Caleb Hayes, come in." "Go for Hayes." "Mr. Davison in security wants to see you in his office." On the double, Dave Davison, head of security for the entire airline. An old school, by-the-book guy with a reputation for being tough but fair. If he was calling me in personally, it wasn't for a commendation. Did something go wrong on the last mission? My stomach was a pit of anxiety as I walked toward the administrative building. When I pushed open his office door, the air was thick with smoke. Davison was behind his desk, his face grim. Sitting next to him was Mike Miller, one of our most senior captains. Captain Miller's expression was unreadable. "Mr. Davison, Captain Miller," I said, my voice cautious. Davison didn't reply, just gestured with his chin for me to come closer. He pushed a thick manila folder across the desk toward me. "Caleb, someone's filed a formal complaint against you. You know anything about this?" His voice was quiet, but it hit me like a thunderclap. A complaint? Against me? My mind went completely blank. I'm a federal officer. I follow the rules. I do my job. Who would file a complaint against me? With a trembling hand, I opened the folder. It wasn't a disciplinary write-up or a memo. It was a meticulously printed, full-color PowerPoint presentation. On the cover page, in a bold black font, were the words that made my blood run cold. Formal complaint regarding Air Marshal Caleb Hayes' systematic theft of airline property. I forgot how to breathe. I mechanically flipped to the first page. It was a high-resolution photo of a glass tumbler I'd brought home from a flight, a noticeable chip on the rim. Beneath the photo, a detailed caption. Item: first-class custom crystal tumbler, model XXXX. Market value, $4.50. Date of theft, October 2023. Flight XX 9527. Location of theft, crew rest area. My hand started to shake so badly I could barely hold the pages. I kept flipping. Page 2, a few packets of airline-branded sanitizing wipes. Page 3, a couple of mini muffins left over from the crew meal service. Page 4, a half-empty bottle of red wine that had been opened for a passenger. Page 5, a used set of metal silverware. On and on it went. Every single item was something I brought home from the plane, things that were destined for the trash. Each one had been photographed and cataloged with dates, flight numbers, and even an estimated market value. For the bottle of wine, she'd even noted Boutique Napa Cabernet, approximate value, $1.50. There were more than 60 pages. On the final slide, under the heading submitted by, was a single name, Chloe Hayes. A roar filled my ears. The last thread of my composure snapped. It was her. Of course it was her. It all clicked into place. Why she wanted the divorce. Why she was in such a goddamn hurry. This was her plan. Discredit me. Get me fired. Maybe even get me arrested. So she could take everything in the divorce. A wave of humiliation, rage, and betrayal washed over me. I started sweating, babbling incoherently as I tried to explain. "Mr. Davison, Captain Miller, I didn't steal anything. This is all stuff the cleaning crew was going to throw out. It's trash. It's discarded property." I was a drowning man grasping for a lifeline, but my voice was shaking too much to form a coherent sentence. The office was dead silent, the only sound my own frantic denials. I looked at the stony faces of my superiors and felt my heart plummet into a black abyss. It's over. It's really over this time. I could already see it. Fired in disgrace, blacklisted from the industry, maybe even ending up in a prison jumpsuit. Chloe, you cruel, heartless bitch. Just as I braced myself for the final verdict that would end my career, the oppressive silence in the room was broken by a soft pft. I looked up. Davison and Captain Miller were looking at each other, the grim masks on their faces cracking. Davison was the first to let out a full-blown laugh. He pointed at the massive stack of paper, slapping his thigh. "Caleb, oh my God, Caleb. When I first got this thing, I saw the thickness of it. 70-page PowerPoint. I thought you'd finally snapped and tried to sell a goddamn jet engine on eBay. After all that, this is it?" Captain Miller chuckled, holding up the page with the photo of the mini muffins. "Hey, those new blueberry ones are pretty good. I stuff a few in my pocket for my kid after almost every flight. According to your wife's logic, I guess that makes me a serial offender." I just stared at them, my brain struggling to catch up. Davison picked up a pen from his desk. My son loses pens at school constantly. I'm always grabbing a handful from the supply closet to take home for him. If my wife found out and made a PowerPoint about it, you think I'd be doing time? The atmosphere shifted instantly from a cold interrogation to a surreal, ridiculous roast. The heart that had been lodged in my throat finally dropped back into my chest. But the relief was quickly followed by a crushing sense of shame and the raw wound of being betrayed by the person I had loved most. After the laughter died down, Davison's expression turned serious again. He clapped me on the shoulder. "Caleb, the complainant is your wife, Chloe, right?" I managed a stiff nod. "Look, we know what this is. The stuff you took home. Frankly, it's all scheduled for disposal. It's not even technically company property anymore. As long as you don't get sick and sue us, we don't care. But we do have to follow procedure. It's a formal complaint with a name attached. We can't just ignore it." He glanced at his watch. "So, here's what we're going to do. You and I and the captain here are having a disciplinary counseling session. It's going to last 2 hours. That way, the matter is officially handled, and we have a record of it for HR. All right, we've still got an hour to kill. Let's talk about life." My eyes burned. I barely kept it together. Davison looked at me, his tone softening like an older brother's. "Man, listen to me. A wife like that, you need to run, not walk. She's not trying to build a life with you. She's trying to end yours. I know you've got parents to look after, a mortgage, a car payment. Oh, and by the way," he said, pointing at the PowerPoint, "stop taking home the chipped glasses. Don't put hot water in them. If one of them shatters and you cut yourself, you'll have to take sick leave and we'll have to dock your pay. Not worth it." My legs felt like jelly when I walked out of that office. The whole thing felt like a bizarre nightmare. I don't even remember how I made it to the departure gate. My head was spinning. Walking down the jet bridge, I was staring at the floor and almost collided with someone. "Watch out." A slender but strong arm steadied me. I looked up into a pair of clear, concerned eyes. It was Vivian. She was the lead flight attendant, the purser for our flight. She'd also been a senior when I was in college. Back then, she was a big deal in student government, always organized, always looking out for the younger students. She was the one who had tipped me off about an internal hiring event at the airline, which is how I'd landed this job in the first place. "Caleb, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Vivian held my arm, her brow furrowed with worry. She had a faint, clean scent, a world away from the cloying perfume Chloe always wore. Seeing her, the tension I'd been holding inside me just snapped. All the humiliation, the anger, the pain that had been choking me finally found an escape. I couldn't stop myself. I told her everything that had just happened in Davison's office, along with the fact that Chloe was divorcing me. I was a rambling, incoherent mess. Vivian just listened quietly. She didn't interrupt, and she didn't laugh like the others had. She just listened, her pretty brow creasing tighter and tighter. When I finally finished, she was silent for a moment before asking the one question that cut straight to the heart of it. "Is Chloe fighting with you about the divorce?" I nodded numbly. It was the same thing Davison had asked. Vivian took a deep breath, looking me straight in the eye. Her voice was firm, certain in a way I had never heard before. "Caleb, don't be an idiot. You're on a plane more than you're at home. You're gone for days, weeks at a time. For her to suddenly use a tactic this extreme, this self-destructive, something that gives you no way to reconcile. There's only one reason for that. She's cheating on you." The word struck me like a physical blow. I froze. Cheating. The thought had crossed my mind, but Chloe had denied it so furiously during our fight. But hearing it now, from Vivian, a clear-headed outsider, it carried an undeniable weight. I looked at her. There was no pity in her clear eyes, only cool-headed analysis and genuine concern. She leaned in closer, lowering her voice, and posed a theory that made my blood freeze in my veins. "And I'm going to say something else you're not going to want to hear. A woman doesn't burn everything to the ground like this unless she's cornered, or she has a much more urgent escape plan. The fact that she's in such a rush to kick you to the curb, even willing to ruin you to make sure you leave with nothing. Maybe." She paused, and every word landed like a hammer blow to my chest. "Maybe she's pregnant, and she's running out of time to find someone to take responsibility. You need to find out, Caleb, even if it's just to protect yourself so you don't get screwed over in the divorce settlement." Vivian's words were a lightning bolt that split through the fog in my mind. Suddenly, all the pieces clicked together. Chloe's frequent late nights, the shifty look in her eyes whenever she answered her phone, the new designer clothes and bags in her closet that I'd never seen before, and the way she'd screamed at me that she was sick of living like a widow. It was never about me not being good enough. It was because she'd already moved on. My heart felt like it had been plunged into a bucket of ice. I turned on my heel and marched straight back to Davison's office. Dave, I need to request 2 days of personal leave. He was sipping a cup of tea and looked surprised to see me back so soon. My face flushed, but my eyes blazing. What's this? We just had our little chat, and now you're bailing on a flight? No, sir, I said, taking a deep breath. I have an urgent family matter to resolve. Davison studied me for a few seconds, and a look of understanding dawned on his face. He put down his cup and signed the leave slip without another word. Approved. Go. Get it sorted out before you come back to work. I grabbed the slip, not even having time to thank Vivian, and sprinted out of the airport. Chloe thought I was scheduled for a long-haul flight this afternoon. She thought I wouldn't be back for 3 days. She had no idea I was coming. That afternoon, I parked my car across the street from our apartment building at an outdoor cafe. I ordered an iced Americano and waited, a patient hunter watching for his prey. At 3 o'clock, Chloe appeared at the entrance to our building. She was wearing perfect makeup, an expensive dress I'd never seen, and carrying that same designer bag. She looked radiant. Just then, a black, gleaming Mercedes S-Class slid silently to the curb in front of her. The door opened, and a trim man in his 40s got out. He was wearing a well-tailored suit and a gold watch that flashed in the afternoon sun. Chloe's face lit up with a fawning smile I had never seen before. She fluttered toward him like a butterfly. Rick, you're here. In broad daylight, right in front of the building we had called home for 2 years. She stood on her toes, wrapped her arms around his neck, and gave him a long, passionate kiss. From across the street, using my phone's telephoto lens, I captured the entire moment in perfect, damning clarity. The instant I pressed the shutter button, whatever was left of my heart died. There was no anger, no sadness, just a cold, sharp-edged hatred. I didn't run over and confront them. I started my car and followed the Mercedes like a ghost. They went to the most expensive 5-star hotel in the city. I took a picture of them walking arm in arm into the glittering lobby. When it was all done, I uploaded every photo and video to the cloud and made backups on 3 separate hard drives. 7 years of my life, reduced to a pathetic joke by a folder of dirty pictures. The last bit of warmth in my soul evaporated, replaced by the fire of pure vengeance. I didn't know how long they'd be in that hotel room, but I knew it was time for me to go home and prepare a little surprise for her. I returned to the place I used to call home. The cloying, sweet scent of her perfume hung in the air, making me sick to my stomach. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat on the cold sofa in the dark and waited for my prey to walk into the trap. Time crawled. I scrolled through the photos and videos on my phone again and again, each image burning away the last embers of my affection until only ash remained. Finally, at 2 in the morning, I heard the familiar sound at the door. Chloe came in humming a little tune, her steps light. She was clearly in a good mood. She pushed the door open, flipped the switch in the entryway, and the harsh light flooded the living room. It illuminated me, sitting on the sofa, my face a blank mask. She screamed, and the designer bag fell from her hand, hitting the floor with a dull thud. C.A. Caleb, I thought you had a flight today. The color drained from her face. Her eyes were wide with panic, her voice trembling. I didn't say a word. I just picked up my phone, unlocked it, and swiped to the photo of her kissing Rick in front of his Mercedes. Then I tossed the phone onto the coffee table in front of her. It skidded across the glass, coming to a stop right before it reached her. Chloe's eyes fell on the screen. Her pupils shrank to pinpricks. Her face went from pale to ashen. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. See it clearly? My voice was so calm it sounded alien even to me. I'll see you at the courthouse in a month. Let's make this clean. I stood up and pulled the signed divorce papers from a drawer. The apartment is mine. My parents made the down payment. You can have the car. Of our savings, I get 70%, you get 30%. Don't push me, I said, looking her dead in the eye. Don't make me take these to a judge and sue you for adultery. Don't make me make you famous. Chloe stared at my cold, unfamiliar face and knew it was over. She suddenly started to laugh, a shrill, hysterical sound. Fine, divorce me. Who needs your pathetic little savings anyway? She pointed a shaking finger at me. You're a loser, Caleb. I've been sick of you for years. Do you have any idea how rich Rick is? His car is worth more than our entire apartment. He can give me things you couldn't dream of. I looked at her face, twisted with jealousy and bitterness, and let out a cold laugh of my own. I stepped toward her, looking down at her, my words sharpened like poisoned daggers. You're right. He's rich. He has a nice car. But what do you think he sees in you? Your innocence? Your kindness? I leaned in close, my voice a low hiss only she could hear. No, he sees the thrill of sleeping with another man's wife. The second we're divorced, that thrill is gone. And you're nothing. You think a guy like that is going to marry damaged goods? A used car that I already drove off the lot. He's slumming it with you because it's exciting. Did you really think you were special? With every word, the color drained from Chloe's face until she was ghostly white. She staggered back a step, as if all the strength had been sucked out of her. Looking at her broken expression, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, just a vast, empty wasteland inside me. I turned, walked into the bedroom, and slammed the door. Lying in the dark, an unsettling thought crept into my mind. Had I been too harsh? Too direct? What if I'd opened her eyes? What if she realized Rick was a dead end and decided to cling to me, refusing to finalize the divorce just to squeeze more money out of me? My fear was justified, but the way it came true was more insane than I ever could have imagined. The next day, I pulled myself together and went to work as usual. The moment I walked into the briefing room, I knew something was wrong. Every one of my colleagues, people I knew well and people I barely knew at all, were staring at me with a strange mixture of pity, disgust, and morbid curiosity. They were whispering behind their hands, pointing. My stomach sank. I had a very bad feeling. Just then, Vivian ran up to me, her face a storm of anger and anxiety. Caleb, you have to see this. Chloe has lost her mind. She thrust her phone into my hand. It was open to TikTok. The video thumbnail was a close-up of Chloe's face, streaked with tears. I pressed play. Chloe, wearing perfectly applied victim makeup, her eyes red and swollen, was sobbing into the camera. Hello, everyone. My name is Chloe Hayes, and I'm the wife of Eastern Airlines Air Marshal Caleb Hayes. Today, I've gathered all my courage to expose the truth about a monster. She choked back a sob and launched into a story about how I was not only emotionally abusive, but had been physically violent with her for years. On screen, she pulled up her sleeve to reveal a few bluish-purple bruises on her arm. I knew exactly where they came from. She'd run into the corner of the dining table last week. But now, they were irrefutable proof of my domestic abuse. That was just the appetizer. What came next was the real poison, designed to destroy me completely. Her voice rose to a hysterical cry. I just wanted him to do the right thing, to stop stealing from his job. But he wouldn't listen, and now he wants to divorce me and throw me out of my own home. I can't stand by and watch him destroy himself and destroy our family. The video then cut to a slideshow. It was the PowerPoint. All my stolen goods were on full display. The chipped glass, the used silverware, the expired muffins, the open wine. Every photo was crystal clear. She'd added a dramatic voiceover and sensational captions. Priceless first-class crystal. Fine wines of unknown origin. His actions are a serious federal offense. For the grand finale, she looked directly into the camera, her eyes filled with a twisted, self-righteous fire, and tagged our airline's official account. Stealing from your company is wrong. It doesn't matter how much it's worth. He belongs in prison for 10 years for this. I am begging his employer to take this seriously and deliver justice. I watched her Oscar-worthy performance, her lies so blatant and shameless that my whole body started to shake with rage. The likes and comments on the video were climbing by the second. I'm done for. This time I was truly publicly ruined. Chloe, you would do anything to destroy me. I clenched my phone, my knuckles white. I was already preparing myself to be suspended, to face an internal investigation, to lose everything. I had assumed that under the flood of Chloe's masterful performance, the tide of public opinion would tear me to shreds. I couldn't even bring myself to open the comments section, terrified of the abuse I would find there. Vivian, seeing my pale face, snatched the phone from my hand and tapped open the comments. Don't worry, I'll look. But what appeared on the screen was the last thing I expected. The tone was not what I'd anticipated. The top comment was from a verified account, the CEO of some tech company. Holy crap, I thought I'd accidentally swiped into the comedy section. A 70-page PowerPoint complaint? For that kind of effort, I was expecting him to have stolen a Boeing 747 engine. But this, a couple of half-eaten muffins. Not gonna lie, I liberate a bag of the fancy imported coffee bean from our office kitchen every week. By this lady's logic, I should probably go turn myself in and hope for life without parole. That comment had thousands of replies. The entire comment section had devolved into a massive, hilarious confess your office crimes thread. Oh man, I just snagged a roll of toilet paper from the supply closet. Am I going to do hard time? Asking for a friend. Don't worry, dude upstairs. I just took the office stapler home. We can be cellmates. I'm an electrician. I've been stripping copper wire from job sites for years. At this point, my crimes have to be worth the death penalty, right? But my mentor always said, an electrician who doesn't pocket some copper will always be poor. I'm a nurse. I take home leftover cotton balls and gauze all the time. Are they going to revoke my license? As the internet did its thing, an even bigger player entered the chat. Our airline's official, verified account posted a single comment under Chloe's video. Regarding the complaint against our employee Caleb Hayes, this matter was addressed internally with a 2-hour disciplinary counseling session. We thank the public for their concern. That one, bland, almost bored-sounding corporate response instantly turned Chloe's tear-filled crusade into the biggest joke on the internet. It was like watching a woman throw a tantrum in the middle of a mall, only for the head of security to calmly announce, "Ma'am, we've already made your husband right. I will not take extra napkins 50 times on the chalkboard. Please disperse." That settled it. The court of public opinion had reached a verdict. A comment from a user named Divorce Court Detective was voted to the very top. Okay, class, let's break this down one. Air, Marshall equals a job that requires being away from home constantly. 2. Wife equals goes to insane, self-sabotaging lengths to get husband sent to prison. 3. Conclusion, she's 100% cheating. And I'm willing to bet there's a bun in the oven that isn't his, and she needs him gone ASAP so she can take all the assets and pin the baby on the poor guy. Guy above is spot on. Classic move. She wants a divorce with a big payout, but she's afraid he'll fight it, so she ruins his reputation first. Get him in jail, and the problem solves itself. This woman isn't just evil, she's stupid. Reading the screen full of people mocking Chloe and accurately diagnosing my exact situation, the suffocating weight on my chest finally lifted. All that was left was a profound sense of vindication. Chloe wanted to destroy me. Instead, she'd made herself the laughingstock of the entire internet. The online storm blew over as quickly as it had arrived. Facing a tidal wave of ridicule, Chloe quietly deleted the video and her entire account. She had staged her grand drama, and when the audience laughed her off the stage, she scurried away in shame. Not long after, we finally stood in a county clerk's office. The waiting period was over. The paperwork was processed in minutes. When the clerk handed me the maroon-colored certificate of dissolution, an incredible lightness washed over me. A mountain that had been crushing me for years had finally been lifted. The sun was bright when I stepped outside. I squinted and saw Vivian leaning against her car down the street, a small smile on her face. She wasn't in uniform today, just a simple white dress, her long hair down. She looked beautiful. She walked over and pressed a warm coffee into my hand. Congratulations on your new life. Now, come on. I'll give you a ride to the airport. We got a flight to catch. The warmth of the cup seeped into my soul. In the weeks that followed, Vivian became a light in my life. When I was down, she'd drag me to the gym to sweat out the negativity. When I felt lost, she would listen patiently, like a true friend, and then she'd nudge me forward. You're a great guy, Caleb. You're handsome. You have a good career. You think you won't find someone amazing. Stop worrying about all that. Just focus on your work. The rest will follow. Her words were like sunlight breaking through the clouds that had lingered over me for so long. I threw myself into my work. After the whole complaint fiasco, the airline's leadership seemed to have a new respect for me, almost a sense of institutional guilt. My performance reviews were stellar, and I was quickly on track for a promotion. Vivian and I talked more and more about everything from work to our daily lives. I found myself looking forward to seeing her name on the crew manifest for every flight. I started depending on her steady presence. I'd find excuses to ask her to dinner after we landed, ostensibly to debrief the flight. I'd find out what movies she wanted to see and then happen to have 2 tickets. The way I looked at her started to change. Something new, something warmer and more real than anything I'd felt before began to take root in my heart. My flights with her stopped feeling like work and started feeling like dates. I was just trying to find a right moment to tell her how I felt when a mutual friend, Leah, called me, her voice buzzing with gossip. "Caleb, you are not going to believe who I just saw. Your psycho ex-wife, Chloe." I met Leah at a barbecue joint. She was one of the few friends who had stood by me through the whole divorce. While expertly flipping skewers on the grill, she recounted the afternoon's events with dramatic flair. Oh, it was glorious. Poetic justice. As it turned out, everything had happened exactly as I'd predicted. The moment the divorce was final, Rick, the Mercedes guy, completely changed his tune. The constant calls and sweet talk vanished, replaced by ignored texts and unanswered calls. Chloe panicked. She really was pregnant. The baby was her last trump card. She thought she could use it to force him into marriage. So she tracked him down at his corporate office and made a huge scene in front of his entire staff, demanding that he marry her. "You should have seen it," Leah said, mimicking Rick's voice. He just lit a cigarette, blew the smoke right in her face, and gave her this look of pure disgust. "Marry you?" Rick had sneered. "Are you serious? You think I'm letting damaged goods like you into my family?" Chloe was stunned. She pointed to her small baby bump, tears streaming down her face. "But I'm carrying your child." Rick's smirk only widened. "I messed around with you because you were married. It was a thrill, you get it. Now you're just another single woman. What's the fun in that? You're the kind of woman who cheats on her husband. If I married you today, how long until you're cheating on me? Do I look like an idiot to you?" According to Leah, Rick had pulled $1,000 out of his wallet, threw it at Chloe's feet, and delivered the killing blow. "Your husband, Caleb, for all his faults, at least he got you when you were new. Me? What am I, a junk collector? Take the money and go get that little problem taken care of. Get cleaned up, and maybe if I'm in a good mood, we can still have some fun." Listening to Leah's story, I took a long sip of my beer. The cold liquid did nothing to quell the satisfying fire burning in my chest. What goes around comes around. With the past finally behind me, my life and career began to flourish. My relationship with Vivian deepened with every flight, and every day we spent together until it felt like the most natural thing in the world. I decided to stop waiting. I started to pursue her in earnest. I'd time my arrival at the airport to pick her up when she landed. I'd plan dates to new restaurants and art exhibits I knew she'd love. We were standing on the edge, just one small step away from something real. After a long-haul flight to Paris, the crew had a 2-day layover. The Parisian night was intoxicating. I asked Vivian to have a drink with me at the hotel's rooftop bar. With the cool breeze from the Seine on our faces, I gathered all my courage and laid my heart bare. "Vivian, I know my life is a mess right now. I'm just out of a failed marriage. But you made me believe in love again. You showed me there was still light. I'm falling for you. Can you give me a chance to show you what that means? A chance to take care of you?" Vivian looked at me, her eyes shining. She didn't speak. She just smiled and nodded. In that moment, I was the happiest man on earth. But happy times are often fleeting, and trouble has a way of finding you. The day after we got back from Paris, I was walking out of the arrivals hall at O'Hare when a familiar, disheveled figure rushed toward me and blocked my path. It was Chloe. She looked terrible. Her skin was sallow, her expensive hair was a mess, and her once pristine dress was wrinkled and stained. She grabbed my arm, her whole body pressing against me. "Caleb," her voice was a desperate, ragged cry. "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Rick is a monster, a liar. He used me. Please forgive me. Can we get back together? Please." Then, she dropped to her knees on the dirty airport floor, clutching my leg. Onlookers started to stare, pointing and whispering. A wave of disgust washed over me. I tried to shake her off, but she held on tighter. "Caleb, give me another chance. For our baby." She looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears, and played her final, pathetic card. "I'm pregnant with your child." I looked down at her performance, my expression cold and unmoved. I took my phone out of my pocket, pulled up a photo, and held it in front of her face. It was a picture of a sonogram report Leah had secretly taken and sent to me. Printed clearly on the report was the date of conception. It was during the 5-day period when I was on a trip to Australia. Chloe saw the picture, and her sobs choked in her throat. Just then, a white car pulled up to the curb beside us. The driver's door opened, and Vivian got out. She saw Chloe on the ground, saw the tense, bizarre scene. But her face showed no surprise. She walked calmly to my side and linked her arm through mine, a quiet declaration of ownership. She looked down at Chloe and gave her the perfectly polite, professional smile a flight attendant reserves for the most unruly of passengers. "Ma'am, harassing another woman's boyfriend is really not a good look." She paused for a beat, then added, her voice quiet but clear as a bell. "Oh, my mistake. I meant fiancé." I pulled Vivian toward the car, walking around the petrified form of my ex-wife, and opened the passenger door for her. Before I closed my own door, I looked back at the woman I had loved for 7 years and said the last words I would ever say to her. "Your baby has nothing to do with me, and your life has nothing to do with me anymore." I started the car. In the rearview mirror, I saw Chloe collapsed on the sidewalk, wailing. I rolled up the window, and the sound of her crying was gone forever. It was a normal Tuesday evening. I'd finished my rotation early and was home in the small apartment Vivian and I now shared. I put on an apron and got to work in the kitchen. Sweet and sour ribs, steamed sea bass, and some scrambled eggs with tomatoes. All her favorites. This is what a home felt like. Knowing someone was waiting for you, and that you were waiting for someone to come back. The lock clicked, and Vivian was home. She was tired from her flight, but her face lit up with a joy she couldn't hide when she saw me. She came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist, burying her face in my back and taking a deep breath. "Smells amazing." "Thank you, honey." She kissed my cheek, then pulled back, her expression suddenly conspiratorial and playful. "Guess what I brought home for you?" I laughed and shook my head. "No idea." From her large flight bag, she carefully pulled out a beautifully packaged bottle of red wine. "Tada!" Some big shot CEO in first class opened it, had one sip, and left the rest. I looked it up online. This bottle is worth thousands. I couldn't let it go to waste, so I liberated it. I thought we could try it. My smile froze. The memory of the accusation, the betrayal, the public humiliation flashed through my mind like a broken film. The 70-page PowerPoint. Chloe's screaming accusations in the video. The pitying looks from my coworkers. I was completely frozen. Vivian noticed my change in mood instantly. She didn't ask what was wrong. She didn't offer any empty words of comfort. She just walked over, set the wine on the counter, stood on her tiptoes, and silenced me with a long, tender kiss. It was soft and warm and tasted of her. It felt like it had the power to heal anything. When she finally pulled away, she rested her forehead against mine, her nose brushing against mine, her eyes sparkling. She licked her lips playfully and whispered, her voice a low murmur, just for me. "I know what you're thinking about. Stop it. We're two of a kind, you and I. We both like to liberate company property. It's just stuff the crew was going to throw out anyway. You'd better not go reporting me like your psycho ex-wife." She paused, her voice dropping to a seductive purr, her warm breath on my face. "Tonight, let's get a little tipsy. It might lead to more interesting things. And